Welcome to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast of the Illinois Air National Guard at Scott Air Force Base. I'm your host, Technical Sergeant Brian Ellison. The Roll Call podcast focused on people, mission, and community. I'm joined in the studio today by Major Jennefer Luebeck, the commander of the 126th Readiness Squadron. Ma'am, thanks for joining us today. On this day before Veterans Day, people are hearing it after Veterans Day, but happy Veterans Day, ma'am.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
All right. This is the month of the military family also, and you can learn how to build healthy relationships and identify goals, your goals with building healthy relationships. You can find a Building Healthy Relationships Consultants free via Military One Source. You can also call them 800-342-9647. They also have a live chat feature. Like I said, I'm here with Major Jennefer Luebeck, the commander of the 126th Logistics Readiness Squadron. She's here joining me on the Roll Call podcast. Ma'am, got to ask you, what is logistics? It sounds like a silly question. I think we all know, but not everybody understands what you find folks over at logistics kind of keep us moving, don't you?
We do. Logistics, a lot of people, they hear the term, but I don't really think they understand all that really goes into it. The most basic definition is we move people and things. But all the factions that go into making that happen are pretty vast. And it isn't always as simple. It is just how that sounds. In the Air Force, logistics is made up of the fuel. We handle the accounting of the fuel, the testing of the fuel, the storing of the fuel, everything that would go into fuel that gets put onto our aircraft or vehicles or support equipment. We handle the vehicle fleet, not only managing the vehicles, but also maintaining them, the fixing of them. So, that's quite important because things sometimes can't always move by air. And I guess to put it in more civilian type terms, we act kind of sometimes like a rental car service too. People need a vehicle to go from here to there. People call moving companies when they think they need things moved and they don't have the ability to do that. We also are part of the distribution channel and can move things via tractor trailer. A lot of our members actually get their CDL through us and are able to translate that into civilian employment. And it actually reduces quite a bit of the cost and training that they would have to do on the outside to maintain their employment. So that's a huge piece of that. We're kind of like an airport where, we schedule people to fly all over the world because that's what we do in the military. We support globally, we support locally. So there's times where we will have an entire airplane that we move with our own. It's organically, we move it that way, but we also have to coordinate commercial airlift as well to put people on rotators, things of that nature, to go and support our warfighter overseas. So we have to schedule all that. We're a part of that entire mission. We have people that work the tasks that come down when they say we need this many people and these things here. We work every piece of that from when do we need to get them there, how do we need to get them there, and that's quite an undertaking, especially during times of COVID and deployment, which we're in the midst of both right now. So that's a very big part of that. And then the last piece of that really boils down to the distribution, similar to Amazon and FedEx. So we have an entire warehouse of things that we have to store so that when the customers have needs, we get those. And then when we don't have them available, how do we go out and get those so that we can continue to support the flying mission and the other needs of the people in the wing? And so everything from warehousing to, receiving and shipping things out. It's quite an undertaking.
You guys do a lot over there. I never realized how much you guys do until you just went through that list. How do you keep track of all of that? Because that's a lot of moving parts, probably moving almost 24/7.
Well, I have a fantastic squadron made up of, a variety of talents and diversity of backgrounds and skill sets. And I have to attribute that to my chiefs, my senior NCOs, who really are the forefront of maintaining that, keeping me informed, letting me know when they have obstacles, and so I can go ahead and support that and help them find ways around that. So I have a fantastic leadership team that I have that helps to guide me in that. And then I have, just the wing leadership as well, is very supportive when I come to them with challenges and the things that I need. They have been very fantastic in supporting those things.
About how many people do you have working just on the full-time side?
On the full-time side, I have approximately 40. I am blessed to also have TF support. We have the 906. We have about 7 of those that support us on the fuel side of the house and the supply side of the house, which enables our maintainers to work 2 shifts operations and reach the levels of success that they do. We certainly couldn't do that with the support provided by our active duty brethren.
Wow, that is quite amazing, what you guys have going over there. I can just imagine something like an Amazon happening over there just to make sure everything gets in the right place.
Yeah, it is quite an undertaking. Again, I have, wonderfully skilled people who have a work ethic that I can't even begin to describe. I'm very proud of all of them, and we have a great team as well, and that helps tremendously in being successful in undertaking all the things that we do.
Now, I know one thing you guys are also working on the OCP rollout.
Correct.
Well, and I noticed that you don't have OCPs.
I do not. There's a few reasons for that. First off, I have to purchase mine.
Oh, this is true. Yes, I forgot about the officers do, yes.
For the longest time, the rollout was happening, but they also didn't have the supply within the DoD. They were having to prioritize deployers first, which of course they should. And I always want to make sure that my folks, have the newest and brightest before I do.
Sure.
So,
how has COVID affected the supply, the logistics, and your mission?
So most people, I would say COVID scaled their mission back. It actually increased ours. When this initially, hit the country, and in particular the state of Illinois, we were one of the hotbeds initially of the COVID virus, which then created a need for a lot of additional support to create alternate care facilities and testing sites and things like that within the state. So there was quite a call for the National Guard to step in initially and get those things up and coming. It really was a labor of logistics. It's probably one of the few times when the Air Force didn't depend on the flying mission to be successful. And I had several of my members who were in key positions that really got those things off the ground. They worked with the different agencies like IEMA, they worked with the governor, they worked with a lot of leaders within the state to get these processes up and running to protect the citizens of the state of Illinois. And then when they had to transition to shutting some of those down, that took people that knew how to pack and crate, that took people that knew how to store things. I also had one air person who was the sole air person working with contractors for receiving, storing, and distributing all of the PPE throughout the state. And the numbers that they dealt with on a daily basis were just staggering to make sure that our medical personnel had what they need, the hospitals had what they need, the different counties had what they need. So it did make plus we are in the middle of a deployment cycle.
Yeah.
And the changes for getting our deployers downrange drastically shifted. It was changing on a daily basis because nobody really knew what we were up against. So for the people that do the planning of getting the people to different places, there were a lot of changes to that had to be deciphered, if you will, in a lot of conversations. And then gear, things of that nature. We're still getting those people out the door. So we really didn't scale back. We increased what we did.
How many places did you have your folks across the state?
Across the state, I had people in about 5 or 6 different locations throughout the state. I did have a lot of initially some of my senior people up at the state headquarters that were key people in getting those programs up and running.
That is, again, I know I just asked this, but again, how do you it just seems like so many things up in the air. Like somebody told me one time that this whole COVID thing is it's like we're building the airplane as it's flying. Did you feel like that?
In some respects, yes. But I think that comes with having people that are trained, making sure that as people are developing, that you've empowered them to be able to make decisions, to make choices, to critically think, so that when they get out there, it's not that they just know how to do their job, but they also know how to adapt and to put those pieces in place and to trust in themselves. And again, we have a fantastic team, and that is what I think, from our lowest airman to our highest ranking individual, everybody has a voice, everybody has that ability to, have initiative, to be tenacious. And I mean, that's the character and the culture of LRS. And so our people are successful. They know how to work with a team no matter where they go or what they're asked to do. That's how we continue to do what we do at a high level of success.
It is the month of the military family, ma'am. How do families fit into our mission in the military?
Well, I think the Guard is very unique in how the family fits into it. I don't think you can throw a rock in a Guard unit without hitting people related to somebody else.
Yeah.
Even myself, I'm married to a 126 member. So we have the unique perspective of being dual military, and with children, that's always a challenge. I think COVID has really strengthened what the family means to the deployer. I've said before, every deployer I've ever said is, I can handle the deployment. I can handle the things that go with that. The things that challenge them are the things that happen at home. And when those things are strong, it's easier for the deployer to do that. Well, COVID has definitely added stressors to the family. And it's also added stressors to them downrange. And so engaging with the families and having the strong families and the support systems that the 126 has in place are bar none. And it goes down to commanders, first sergeants, and just your peers, doing those check-ins and making sure that the families have what they need so that our people deployed can stay focused on what they need to do. You take care of the airmen, you take care of the family, they take care of the mission.
Okay. What made you join the Air National Guard, ma'am?
So I did 4 years of active service. I was not in the state of Illinois. I'm not from the state of Illinois. I got out of active service when I was in F.E. Warren, Wyoming. At the time,
2 years ago, I lived 2 blocks from that place.
That's crazy. It's a small world, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I was dating my now husband at the time. So I'm from Colorado, which isn't too far.
Where at?
Southeast Aurora, which is close, kind of between the Springs and Denver for people that don't know the area.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I lived in Wyoming for 10 years. And Wyoming's a very desolate place.
It is.
And holy cow, I'm from here. I'm from St. Louis. So to learn that you have to travel 3-4 hours to go do almost anything was a shock to the system. And people will just jump in their car and just go. So anytime that I wanted to go see a concert or to a baseball game when the Cardinals were in town, I would have to go down to Denver, which was a 5-hour drive from where I lived in Gillette. So my point is, I know where you're from. Yes.
So with that being said, I wanted to go back to Colorado, but at the time I was, dating someone where I saw a future. So I wanted to stay close to where he was. And I actually got out and I didn't know what the Guard was. That wasn't something that when I came in was really known about. Recruiters certainly didn't tell you about it. So I had met a girl while I was going to college, and she was in the Guard. And at the time, the employment opportunities in Cheyenne were slim, especially if you didn't have an education, which at the time I was still working on getting. And she told me about the Guard. And she said, hey, it's a great way to have part-time employment. They didn't have school benefits, so I was like, well, okay, I'll join the Guard. So I joined the Guard.
What did you do, regular Army or regular Air Force full-time, big Air Force and in the Guard. Did you do the same thing?
I did. I did supply, which at the time was called supply. It wasn't all called logistics at that time. But I was primarily a supply troop in the Guard.
So you were enlisted first?
I was enlisted actually for 17 years before I commissioned.
Wow. That's got to be a big difference going from 17 years. I was in the Army for 17 years. And then I switched over to the Air Guard because I saw the error of my ways. But that's got to be a big transition.
You know, it was in some respects, but I also think it makes me a stronger leader in the respect that I understand what my enlisted folks are doing and the impact that they have on what I do. I can truly walk in their shoes, and I understand from their perspective. So I am blessed to have had that time. I'm equally blessed to be in a position now where I get to lead those people and also learn from them. Right. The amount of knowledge that they have is just unparalleled.
Yes, they. That's one thing I like about our job is being able to go out and watch other people do their job and learn from them. And they're the ones that teach us how their job is done and getting to see that. What'd you do in college? What did you study in college?
So I actually have a couple of different degrees. I have a bachelor's degree in liberal studies. That primarily was because I started out on the comm track of getting I can't think of what the name of it was, but whatever you get in communications.
Like a mass communications or
something like that?
Yeah,
something like that. But then I quickly realized I didn't enjoy coding. And I like the infrastructure side, but I really don't enjoy coding. And also, it would have taken me probably a year longer to get a bachelor's degree. So I took the other route, which gave me the degree that I have, which was in liberal studies. But then I got my master's in recreation, sports, and tourism, which is actually a business degree that just focuses on those realms. Because I told myself if I was ever not in the military, I'd probably do something in one of those fields.
Especially if you're in Wyoming and Colorado, that's the second largest industry in those two places.
Very, very employable, yes, with those.
Yeah. So you were in the Wyoming Air Guard.
Correct.
Right. At the airlift. Was it an airlift wing, right? I was there for a year. I should know, but
no, they didn't do airlift there at the time. It was I think a lot of it is cyber now.
Okay.
And the active duty base is more nuclear.
Yeah, there's nobody on that base, but then somebody said they're all underground. Is that true?
Well, not so much on the on the Guard side, but the active side, yes.
Yeah, I was like, you go there and it's like there's nobody. It's strange, but they're also, I heard they're trying to beef up the amount of people there. They're trying to double the size of the population.
And I could see that happening. Yeah, the community would definitely benefit from it.
So you joined the Air Guard to help yourself out with the money in college and whatnot, or while you were in college. What made you come to the 126th?
So my husband was active duty at the time, so we did eventually get married, and he was active duty, and he did a year remote to Korea, and his follow-on was to Scott. So nice. I made a call and asked about the Guard units in the area. At the time, the unit was up in O'Hare, Chicago, but the recruiter at the time was like, well, we're transitioning down to Scott Air Force Base. I kind of took that as, well, that's fate, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
So I did join the Air Guard while they were still up in O'Hare. And then it was very quickly after I did that they finally transitioned down to Scott.
What was that transition like? Maybe on what you saw. I mean, because I hear stories, especially from the logistics folks, you guys had a heck of a time.
So I was a senior airman when I joined, so my role was quite different.
Yeah.
I was still primarily a supply troop. Initially, I was drilling where I would go up to Chicago. I think I did that just 2 or 3 times. I would drive up there, and I don't know Illinois. I'd never, other than the few times I'd visited with my husband.
Right.
So Chicago was a little different than something I had experienced before. But so then I actually applied for a full-time job, and initially it was thought that I would transition up weekly, do my full-time job, and then leadership decided, well, we need a transition team down here to receive everything that's coming down, and luckily I was selected to be a part of that team. So it was a lot A lot of stuff moved down. We didn't have all of our facilities ready. The building I'm in currently was still a foundation. I don't even think it had studs. There's a schoolhouse, I don't know if people know it, that's outside the back gate. That is where our warehouse was. We didn't have heating or air conditioning. We did not have indoor plumbing. We had lights in some portions of it. But that's where we had a lot of stuff come in, a lot of stuff we had to, I guess, decipher whether it was worth keeping or we needed to get rid of. So we spent a lot of days counting things, deciding what was worth having, so when we transitioned into our buildings. Eventually we moved out of that and we actually worked out of the hangar because our building still did not exist.
Wow.
So we had to maintain our warehouse. It was actually in the middle of the hangar is where we had the things set up to support the flying mission.
How long did that last?
My memory fails me, but I want to say it was anywhere from about 6 months, maybe to a year.
Wow. Yeah, that building, I've heard you talking about that building before, and I just saw it today, I guess because the leaves are starting to fall, but it sits down in a hill, right, kind of down the hill. If you look off,
does.
If you're coming into base, you'll see it off to your left, and it's right before you make the turn to go down the hill into that's where I saw it this morning.
Correct.
So that was a real heck of a place to work out of.
It definitely was. It was pretty austere out there. So, but we made do, and we have fun stories from the time. So.
Yeah, we'll share some fun stories.
Well, I think some of those stories are just those things like when you deploy. There's those things that they're funny in the moment, and they're funny with the team that's there. They may not translate to everybody in the same way.
I understand.
You do what you have to do in those moments to make the best of the situation.
Are any jobs available in any openings, either on the full-time side or on the DSG side that people might be interested in over at the LRS?
Well, we do actually have several on the part-time side.
Okay.
And I will say that we do have openings that come up if they want to take that and go into the full-time. Sure. Right now, POL is where I think I have the biggest need. Mm-hmm. That is a position where if you're unsure, please go down there and visit it. It's one of those jobs that I think is hard to describe to people, and it's hard for them to truly understand everything that goes into it. But I will tell you that every person I've ever known who's worked that, they absolutely love it. And I think you have to talk to the people who are doing that in the trenches to truly get a sense of what that job entails and why you'd want to do it. But like I said, if you like working with the aircraft and you don't want to be a pilot and you don't want to be a mechanic, that's a way to be well a part of that because you touch the aircraft all the time.
That's pretty cool. Good. Is there a good contact for them if somebody wanted to just maybe go down there and check it out?
Certainly. Sergeant Kelly Thielmeyer, she's the superintendent down there. Certainly give her a call. If not, our recruiters always know how to get in touch with anybody for any discipline that we have. So call our recruiting office. They will certainly set up any opportunity that you need to go see any of the work centers.
This is true. All right, Major Jennefer Luebeck, the commander of the 126th Logistics Readiness Squadron. She's joining me here on the roll call. Ma'am, thanks for coming in. Anything else that I missed that you want to talk about?
I would just say that, we have an outstanding wing. We have had huge successes at the national level in every aspect of what we do. Look at the things that our maintenance is accomplishing, but do know that, and maintenance is aware of this too, that doesn't happen without what logistics provides to that. And we also do a lot of amazing thing in logistics that if maintenance and the pilots don't go and take advantage of that and excel, it doesn't make the work that we do shine in the way that it should. So it's really a symbiotic relationship and a huge trust relationship. And we have won 9 national level awards in the last 4 years within LRS for logistics effectiveness. We have an amazing team. So if you want to come and get some skills that translate to the civilian world, that will give you a lot of opportunities. And guess what? COVID didn't shut down logistics. So that was a job that maintained through a lot of shutdowns. And you want to be part of a family and a great team, please come and visit us over in logistics. We definitely can find a spot for you.
That's great. And actually, I'm glad you brought up COVID. I wanted to touch on this. We have, it sounds like a possible vaccine. How, do you know anything about how maybe LRS would fit into that distribution? Have you guys...
At this juncture, no, and I'm not sure that at a base level we would be involved in that, but I will say that logistics at the higher headquarters level will be involved in how that will get distributed out to the troops. That's going to be done at a much higher level than us,
right.
But it will be coordinated between logistics and medical. So again, there's not a piece of the Air Force that logistics is not a part of. It's a part of every aspect of the world. I mean, 80% of all employment in the world, I believe, is a logistics function.
Wow. All right. Major Jennefer Luebeck, thank you again, ma'am, for coming in. She's the commander of the 126th Logistics Readiness Squadron. Make sure you get RSVP'd for the Wings Kids Holiday Party, December 6th. Airmen and Family Readiness is showing The Grinch, and I believe Santa Claus and the Grinch may make some sort of appearance. Not sure exactly how that's going to be, but I know Santa Claus is going to be very safe, and they're working on that with CE to make sure that Santa is safe. So you're going to need reservations. The reservations, because the seating is limited, you can RSVP through the Airmen and Family Readiness or check your newsletter. They have an Airmen and Family Readiness November newsletter that just came out that has that link to get RSVP'd. And, we also need to say, ma'am, you were talking about this earlier, we need to say hello to the folks that are deployed. Got to thank them for, they listen, they love this because it just kind of gives them that slice of home, and sometimes they get to hear their friends and just get to hear about what's going on back here in the community.
So, I do still have quite a few people who are, out there. We talk to them quite frequently in-house, but hey, if I can give a public shout out to them, to include right now, the majority of the people that are deployed are from the mission support group, right? Mm-hmm. So we are a part of that mission support group, and, regardless of what your job is, what squadron you belong to, your service is appreciated. We miss you. We hope that you are safe and healthy. We hope that your families are safe and healthy. And hey, we're proud of you, and keep doing what you do, and we can't wait to have you home.
And ma'am, if you want to send them packages, not trying to put any pressure on
We've already done that.
Okay, well, you need to get them in the mail by December 11th, first class and priority, or by December 18th if you want them to get there on the 25th. However, there is no guarantee, but the thought is, of course, just getting them packages, they will greatly appreciate that. Again, thanks to Major Luebeck for joining us. So you can go on to the 126th Air Refueling Wing Facebook page to find out what's going on in the wing. This month, you'll see a video of us here in the podcast. Also, go to our YouTube page. Check out what we have there going on as well. If you want me to highlight something on the Roll Call podcast, send me an email, 126.arw.pa.us.af.mil. Again, thanks again to Major Luebeck for joining me. I'm Tech Sergeant Brian Ellison. Thanks for listening to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast focused on people, mission, and community.